everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. Welcome back to part 4 of our 2022 Flux Summer Crochet Along. We are making this beautiful island hopper bag. This is a fun little bag that you can use all summer long. It has some lovely wooden handles. It's very generously sized and it's super easy to crochet with some very simple stitches. Now, so far in our crochet along, and all the links can be found on the blog if you need to go back, we have talked about supplies, how to substitute yarn, a little bit about the bag itself. For the next part, we crocheted the 2 panels. For part 3, we seamed them together. So today we're on part 4 of our crochet along. And again, all the links can be found on the blog as well. And as a side note, they'll be up forever if you need to go back to any part at any time, or if you want to make yourself another bag later on, they'll be up forever. Today, we're going to learn how to make this lovely charm. It's very summery and bright, and I've made it with a hook, which we'll go over in a minute, and in the first part we talked about it in more detail, but it is removable. So you can take it off if you want to have more of like a plain look to your bag, or you can have this fun summery little charm, or you can use the charm on something else later on. You can put it on a backpack or a different bag, if you will. So it's very easy to construct. We're going to talk a little, just recap the supplies in a minute, but it's just 2 pom-poms and 2 tassels. And I've added some wood beads that sort of match the handle. But we're going to learn how to make both the pom-poms and the tassels just with our hands and a pair of scissors. No special fancy tools needed. Very easy to do, and I'm going to walk you through it every step of the way. So this is the last tutorial part of our crochet along when we're done making the charm. If you haven't joined the Ravelry group and the Facebook group, the links are down below. You can connect with other makers and show off your work, ask questions. It's a great place to hang out if you're making this project. The links are down below for either one of those groups. So if you haven't joined them, definitely join those. After the tutorial, the next part of our crochet along, I always do, when we have a crochet along, I do a recap. So on the blog, we will have all the links to all the parts, all the videos will be in one spot. I also on YouTube create a playlist of the whole crochet along too, so you can have all the videos in one spot. So be on the lookout for that. That will be coming out soon as well. So without further ado, let's jump right in and make the charm to put on our bag. Okay, so for our fun charm that we're going to be adding to our bag, just to review the supplies you'll need for the charm only, we're going to do some worsted weight yarn and some bright colors. This is worsted weight acrylic yarn. I mentioned before in one of the other earlier cowl parts that we also experimented with like some cotton dishcloth yarn and it worked just as well. So just some worsted weight scraps that you have on hand. Now I'm using Red Heart Super Saver. If you remember, if you've done the temperature projects with me, this is what I used for those projects. So I have lots of little pieces of it hanging around. This is the turquoise, the spring green, the pumpkin, and the shocking pink. You'll also need, as an option, some beads. You can put some beads in there, and I like sort of how it matches the handle with that dark wood, and a tapestry needle, and then you'll need some kind of a hook or a clasp. Now I picked, this is called a lobster clasp. It has like a spring-loaded lever and that opens and closes it, and I thought that that would be very easy to kind of clip onto my bag. You can get these at the craft store. I got this in like the jewelry aisle where like the beads and stuff are, but I saw some bright color plastic ones that were really fun in like the kids craft aisle too. So just kind of look around. There's different styles as well. And then your tapestry needle. And then today I have been using these smaller scissors so far for the crochet part, but today I grabbed some larger scissors because we are going to make some tassels and pom-poms, and that requires like a lot of trimming, and having some big scissors is really easy to do that with. So grab all your supplies and then we're going to hop right in and we're going to make some pom-poms and tassels. No fancy tools required. We're just going to make them in our hands. The first thing we're going to make is a tassel. So I have 4 colors here. So I'm going to make 2 pom-poms and 2 tassels, one item of each color. Okay. So we're going to make a tassel first with this bright orange kind of gold color. Okay, so to make a tassel, the super easy way to do it is we're gonna just get our yarn here. Now this, you can see there's don't need a lot. This is like the tiniest amount just left over from something. So I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of yarn each about 12 inches long for our tassel. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of lay them over here. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take our yarn and let it fall down the front of our hand, and we're going to wrap it. So that's one. Every time I come around my pinky, I count that as one wrap. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whenever you're using scraps, it gets tangly as you get to the bottom. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now you can see how sort of full you want it to be. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer. So that was 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. Okay, so I'm just going to cut my yarn at the bottom here. And I have a nice little bundle, and it's going to be just the fullness that I want it to be. Now grab one of the pieces of yarn that you cut earlier, and what we're going to do is we're going to carefully slide it into that bundle, sort of pull it to the top here, and you can carefully slide that off your hand. Okay, now just kind of hold it in place, and then this will be the yarn that you'll tie it onto. Okay, we're going to tie all these items together. So go ahead and tie that at the top. You can go once, twice, and a third time if needed. And then you'll keep that at the top because that's the part you need to tie on. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to smooth everything out, lay our yarn down, and then in the top third or quarter of our piece, so you can divide it into like 3 parts or 4 parts, we're going to tie the yarn to like that top section of our tassel. And it almost looks like a tassel at this point. So go ahead and tie it once, tie it twice. Now, whenever you tie a tassel, there's always one piece of yarn that lays really nicely and flat. And then there's one that sort of sticks out like that. So what you'll want to do is grab your needle. Whoops. And I like to just take my needle and just sort of tuck it in there. Okay. Just run it through. Okay. Just like that. And then the very last part of our tassel is you'll want to flip it over in your hand, and you're going to cut all these loops. Okay, so go ahead and look for all the loops, and you're going to cut those off, smooth it back out again, and then you're going to sort of hold it again firmly, and we're going to give it a haircut. So just kind of make like a clean cut across. You can touch it up if you didn't get it that first pass. Okay, whoops, and all my beads are rolling away. Okay, so here is our tassel. And if you need to make any kind of little touch-ups and trim, you know, feel free to do that. So our first piece, we're going to put that aside. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our next color. I'm going to do this turquoise, and we're going to make a pom-pom next, okay? So I'm sort of doing like, I did like 2 cool colors and 2 warm colors, all very bright and beachy and summery, okay? So I'm just going to pull a little bit of yarn. This one's a center pull, so it should be nice and easy. We're going to cut just one 12-inch piece of yarn this time, like that, and put that aside. Now, to make a pom-pom, it's very similar. We're just going to, again, hold the yarn down the front of our hand and just start wrapping. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And just as a side note, we're going to do more wraps of this just because we want it to be a full pom-pom, okay? So this is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. See, that's getting really full. 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100. There may have been an extra wrap or two in there in that end part, but that's okay. We're going to do 100 wraps. So cut the yarn and see how the bundle is very full, okay? That's what we want. So 100 wraps. Now, if you're doing a different yarn weight for this, depending on the scraps that you had, you may need to wrap it more or less times, okay? If it's getting to be like this really bulky bundle, then it might be a little bit too much. Okay, so I carefully slid this off my hands. We're gonna make sure both of these tails are pointing down just so we can keep track of them. And we're gonna lay our bundle down on our piece of yarn, and we're gonna tie it right down the middle, okay? Go ahead and tie it down. Now, the challenging part of pom-pom making is you want to get this so super snug because we're going to cut these loops and some of the tails might fall out of the bottom. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is what we will use to tie our pom-pom on, okay? So get your loops done. And we're going to just start cutting our loops. And we have a lot more loops this time, so just go nice and slow. Look for all the loops that you find, okay? Let's go ahead, just give those a cut. Being careful not to cut the yarn that you tied your pom-pom together with. If you dig a little too far, you can cut that, so be careful. Okay, look for any more loops, and you may find one here and there, but the pom-pom has been constructed. Now, obviously, it's super wild right now, so we need to give it a haircut. So what we want to do is just start trimming it up, okay? Now, I'm trimming the excess off first, and then we'll kind of fine-tune it in a minute, okay? So the closer you cut your pom-pom in and the more wraps that you do on your pom-pom, the more dense it's going to look, okay? So if your pom-pom is too sparse, it might not look as nice and neat and full, okay? Now, as you can see, as I'm cutting all this long stuff, I'm also turning it in all directions just to make sure I'm catching all those really long pieces, okay? Now, if you want your pom-pom to be smaller, you can take it in a little bit too. But I'm just going through and getting all like the wild looking stuff out of here, okay? So you have some long pieces here, and as you can see, as we take it in more and more, and I'm fine-tuning it a little bit more as I go, it's looking a little bit denser. And it looks a little bit neater too when you get it denser. Okay, now every so often you can kind of fluff it up because inevitably there will be some more long pieces sticking out, okay? So keep trimming, trimming, trimming until your pom-pom is looking good, okay? So I'm pretty happy with that. I might find a few here and there I want to touch up. Okay, so now we have a pom-pom. So we have a tassel and a pom-pom, and we're starting to build our little charm that we're making, okay? So I'm going to continue. I'm going to make a second tassel in another color and a second pom-pom in another color. Okay, so we finished up all of our elements. We have a pumpkin tassel, a shocking pink tassel, a spring green pom-pom, and a turquoise pom-pom. So we're going to start assembling everything, but you'll want to kind of plan things out before you tie everything together. We're going to tie it all to itself, okay? So I'm going to attach the tassel to the pom-pom, and then this tassel to this pom-pom, and then we can add some beads in there too to just give it a little bit extra, okay? So let's get our pink, and we can trim that flush. And I grabbed a bead. So if we put some beads in the middle, it adds a little bit more texture and it complements our handle a little bit. So I threaded both ends here, and then just put that bead right on, and then you can rethread it once it's on there, if it came off like mine did. And then we're going to take our keeping those strings at the top, grab your pom-pom and we're going to just kind of drill up through the middle of it like this, okay? And come out at the top. And we have this like layered effect, okay? And then I'm going to grab one of these ends here and I'm just going to tie my pink right onto one of these ends. And we're going to trim it way back so hopefully it will disappear and we won't be able to see it. But I want to see how when I tighten it down or really snug it down like that, it sort of disappears, all right? Okay, so now we're going to come in way close with our end, way close with our end. And this can sort of, if you're seeing it, see how it kind of fluffed out of the way? You can kind of flip that to the back if you need to, okay? So here is one element created. And then let's do the same for our other one. Now my strings were short because I had to cut this earlier because I wasn't loving how it was looking. Now I'm not going to add a bead to this one. I'm just going to kind of mix it up a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take my bottom here. I'm going to come in from the bottom with my tassel and kind of drill up in there. And just kind of like put that at the top, just like that, okay? And you want to repeat that for the other end if you didn't first time. It's probably better to catch them both at once. And then just pull that one up too. Grab your little ends and kind of tie it around one of these tails. Now my ends are really short. I'm just kind of doing the best I can here. But just get it on there the best you can. And pom-poms are extremely forgiving. And when you trim these ends back of this yellow, for example, it'll sort of disappear. Okay. So I'm just tying it the best I can. It's really small. Hopefully your ends will be longer than mine. I'm going to do that one more time for good measure. Okay, and then we can just trim these back, and then just kind of fluff it out of the way, okay? Now, if your pom-pom is looking a little bit big, mine's a little bit big for this tassel. We can give it a little haircut again later. Okay, now the reason I didn't do a bead on this one and I did a bead on this one, I want this one to be snug up against the clasp so it lays like that, but I want this one to drop down a little bit, okay? So I'm going to cut this flush once again. I'm going to thread my needle and then just string a couple of beads on here just so it drops down a little bit lower. You don't want it like side by side. You want it to be a little bit staggered it'll look a little bit more interesting. And there we go. So we have a little bit of like a bead texture like that, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to tie these onto our clasp. So what we can do is, once again, these pom-poms are very forgiving. So trim this flush, thread your needle, just go right in to that clasp, and then just tie it right on there and get it nice and snug. And we're going to tie this one on next. Get it real snug on there. And then with the pom-pom, you can just cut it back and it disappears, okay? All right, so here is our clasp. We can attach that to our bag, but we need to attach this one too, okay? So we can just sort of lay them like that. Okay, see how that helps that drop down? I think that helps. Okay, so then we want to tie this one on. So once again, you might need to give it a fresh cut if it's fraying because we've messed with it quite a bit. And then just thread it on there. And you can do any config. You don't have to do the exact configuration that I did here, but any configuration that works for you with the colors and the placement. It's really a creative endeavor, so you can place them however you want. Okay, and then just give it a couple of good strong knots on there. Then, because this is up against the clasp, we can cut that back a little bit. Okay, now we need to straighten all this out so it lays on our bag nice. So here's our clasp. We can just sort of clip that on. You can clip it onto your handle if your hook is big enough. Mine was a little small for the handle, but up close to the handle is best. And this is removable, so if you just want like have a plainer bag day, or if this is like a little much for your outfit that day, you can remove it. So just get your and these everything will start to lay nice too as you use it more, and it kind of hangs more. But our charm looks really cute, very festive, and as you carry your bag, it'll all sort of settle down. Now, if you see any long spots, as you get it on, it might lay a little differently, and you might see a little long spot or two. But that's it, and our clasp is on there, and everything looks really cute and festive. So this is the last part of our tutorial for our bag. So this was optional, but I really love it. I think it definitely adds to the bag, and it makes it look really festive. Our crochet along tutorial part is complete. So you can go back. The tutorials will be up forever. The videos will be up forever. The written pieces on the blog will be up forever. And you can go back and make any of this at any time. So I know a lot of you like to make multiple versions of these items. So next part that we have, I like to do to kind of wrap up our crochet along. I like to do a kind of a recap. So we're going to have on one, the blog, we'll have links to all the separate parts of our crochet along and all the videos. You'll have it all in one place in one handy blog post. So stay tuned for that. And also, I will offer the PDF of the written pattern all in one PDF in my shop as well. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming soon too. So I hope you enjoyed this crochet along. I had so much fun. This was such like a sort of out of the box project for us. And I hope that you enjoy your bag all summer long. So that concludes our summer crochet along. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.